Today we have Mr. Unmesh Deshpande with us. He is in this particular field or arena of cyber security or in techno-savvy field since last more than 30 years. Previously, he was means recently he quit as a CTO from one of the leading hospitals in Nagpur, that is Kingsway Hospital. It is supposed to be biggest private hospital in Asia. And Mr. Unmesh has chosen topic of securing enterprise today, securing enterprises. So I'll just give some more information about Mr. Unmesh. He's very good poet and he's very close friend of mine, and we studied together since standard fifth, and that is our old friendship, and which helped me to bring him as a last moment arrangement, because our previous speaker who was scheduled backed out on last moment, and Mr. Unmesh kindly consented to have this particular session. And I'm confident that this session will be more than exciting. The program will be, Unmesh will be covering his topic in coming 45 minutes, and then we can have our Q&A session open for all. And if some questions remains unanswered, his address and details are will be available at last slide, so the participants can contact him for further queries. So without wasting more time, I will invite Mr. Unmesh to start his session. Welcome, Mr. Unmesh.
Thank you, Dr. Mahendra, and for an apt introduction. It was really a pleasure to really build all this slide deck in past 48 hours. So I tried to cover most of the arenas and most of the areas of cybersecurity and how to secure your modern enterprise. So without much introduction, let's move on. So this is a simple 5-point agenda. We will start with, we'll define the security. What is security and what should we be looking at? Then, obviously, without talking about COVID-19 time, what pandemic has offered us and what it has taught us, what opportunities and what threats. So we'll move around that topic, followed by top 10 areas of concern, what can be easily affected. This is going to be one of the key element of this particular session. Then after that, we'll also discuss about possible counter action. So strategies, and more strategies. And last but not the least, the goal, human angle versus technology angle. So let's start this journey together, and here we go. So let's define the security. So when you say that data is at risk, then we must understand where the data resides, whether it resides on your phone or your computers or a network or database server or enterprise programs or something. But whatever it is said, without network today, data cannot be interoperable or hackable. Network gives a basically layer 1 kind of a portability to your data. Then data gets created through an application. So we will have to define, we'll have to really look into what applications do we use and how securely they are built. The application architecture also plays a major role over here. Also, the information security. I mean, information security, when you talk, is a very generic and broad term. But if you want to zero down pertaining to data security, what are the controls and measures which are governed and which are deployed already using your network security and application security? So you would see that in first 3 steps, the stack of security has already started building up. If we go still one step ahead, it's operational security. How do we allow people to really access data, whom we allow, how do we do the profiling of the users who are consuming the data or who are creating that data. There could be a couple of web forms which are getting filled, let's say a reservation or a booking site where people are buying tickets or booking their flight journeys or etc. So how do they do it? What kind of services they use? Are they scripting the forms? All these things, it comes under operational security. Then in case if there is a system, it is bound to be bound to have some kind of a failure sooner or later, and that's why the engineers survive on a lighter note. But business continuity planning and disaster recovery has to be equally thought when you are talking about and defining the cyber security. Without BCP and DR, no organization can survive. Problems do happen. They may be intentional, non-intentional, or whatever. But business continuity planning and disaster recovery has to be very planned, and it has to be an integral part of that cybersecurity engine or cybersecurity program that the organization runs. And last, end user education. I mean, when you onboard a particular user into your enterprise or an organization, how well you have done the induction program, how sensitized, how have you sensitized them to really understand their responsibility and the authority to use that system. There is a good saying, with power, there is a lot of responsibility that you have to take. So there could be a regular user just entering some data and he doesn't have any view beyond that, or there could be a power user who has got access to so many databases and so many software within the organization. So you have to educate them and make them aware of their powers and what it can do, and also inform them of what are the remedial actions in case they are misused. So in 6 steps, these are the, in nutshell, this is how we could define the cybersecurity. I know these 6 steps are not enough because cybersecurity itself is a huge domain and it's infinite. I mean, to create a really one single liner or a paragraph or even a paper on defining cybersecurity, in my opinion, it is not possible. So let's move ahead on that background. All of us were affected and forced to go through COVID times. So pandemic has offered us opportunities and also the threats. Let's dissect into this. So what happened in COVID times? What did organizations really face? Number one, immediately work from home was enabled. Everybody wanted their employees to work from home. So remote connections were open. So they were unsecured VPN or a home brewed HTTP based website or portals where people used to log in their work or create a collaborative environment. And this actually worked very well for some of the organizations, but there were lot many organizations who had their data at rest and data in process at a risk. So remote connections really provided a challenge, followed by the people did not have so many computers. I mean, organizations did not have so many mobile computers like laptops and similar devices to be provided to employees to work from home. So they were allowed to use personal devices which were not certified for network readiness and security readiness. The profiling, the antivirus, and the security patches, and etc. They were not guaranteed. And secondly, since these devices were connected from home networks, their domain connectivity to enforce the governance policies of an enterprise was not possible. So BYOD created a lot of problem during pandemic times. During pandemic, there was a lot of cut of salaries and salaries were delayed and people started really looking for additional income. And that there were so many cases where employee integrity itself was at a stake. I mean, data leaks and invaluable data, whatever they had, It was at a risk of a single employee who may not be empowered to really share that information officially. So there were cases like that. Then, when people were working at home, there were so many engineers sitting idle. So somebody is working and somebody is peeping on your screen and reading the information that your family member should not be reading. So even this uh, data breach was happening. So I call it as a peeping toms. So the screen was visible. The people did not have separate rooms in their house to sit and do work from home, etc. Then, last but not the least, the outspring of all the uh, broadband service provider really made a lot of money during the pandemic. And the installation, what they were doing, all the engineers, they knew the admin password of the routers, and the home networks got compromised. And when the home networks got compromised, they had an indirect access to corporate data for whichever that particular person was working for. So COVID-19 times uh, had these 4 or 5 challenges. These challenges proven to be an opportunity for the cybersecurity team at the enterprise. So let's move ahead with that. So what were the top 10 areas of concern? Now you see, I'm going to go a little on a broader perspective over here. As you drive on the road, you see some of the cars with the logo Internet Inside. Have you ever wondered what is this Internet Inside and how can a car have an internet? So it has to be a hotspot, an unsecured network. This Internet Inside was given for service agencies or the manufacturer to offer remote assistance and services, because all these cars are now computer controlled and computer managed. So there were instances, not in India but abroad, that people hacked into such cars and stole the data from the devices connected. I mean, if somebody was driving and another person was using his laptop to work, and the laptop had data, so it was possible to really flush out data from such mobile devices and copy it. So it was intentional breach. It happened because the unsecured and unmanaged internet access was given within the vehicle. Then, integrated AI and cybersecurity. Now, what is AI? It's a very celebrated term, artificial intelligence. Now, to go a little deeper into this, we must understand how artificial intelligence and cybersecurity are linked together. Cybersecurity, when you do it manually, you are reacting to some attack or some changes which are happening on your network or network environment, and you are taking appropriate technical decision to really mitigate all such threats. So people started wondering if we can do a pattern analysis of all these threats and write an algorithm and let that algorithm learn. So before launching into AI, ML started picking up, machine learning. So these algorithms became more and more intelligent, and finally, this AI-based routine started controlling your firewalls and other accesses. Now, all the patterns were hard-coded. Hard-coded pattern means it has got a limited activity to be done, limited remedial activity to be done. There were people who were able to bypass this AI, because finally AI is created by human mind, and I believe that no AI can surpass the ability of human mind as far as analytical skills and logical skills. So that became a threat and a concern. Then mobile phones, with more and more e-commerce taking place, such as everybody uses Google Pay or Paytm or any payment gateway, or your all the shopping happens on phone. Your Amazon application or Flipkart or any other such shopping apps, they are operating on the phone. But what is the guarantee that the 4G connection that the service provider has given to you is encrypted? And you're transacting an e-commerce application through an e-commerce application. You're trading, you're buying some stuff, you're sharing your address, you're sharing your card details, etc. And there is no guarantee that, okay, application may be encrypted, but whatever encryption that application sends to the main server of that particular service provider goes through an unsecured 4G connection. So what is the guarantee that the data traveling on an unsecured connection doesn't get, there is an attack on called as a piggyback. So certain TCP/IP packets, when they are flowing over the network, the hacker really mounts this package on that those TCP/IP packets which are pre-authenticated. So they travel from point A to point B seamlessly, carrying that Trojan-like information. So mobile phones started becoming threat, and then there were a lot of news articles in newspapers that somebody wanted to buy something and their account got debited by so many thousand or maybe a lakh rupees or something. So mobile phone is also an area of concern. Then the requirement of cloud became more and more evident over this. So overnight operators have mushroomed servicing a half-baked dishes on their platters. There were trusted players like AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud platform. But other than that, more cheaper and over the night operators were there. I would not name them because they will definitely groom themselves and come up to the industry standards and security standards. But a lot of people opted out for this just to save money. But if you save money, you're trading something. In lieu of that saving, you are compromising on some kind of a security. So exactly that happened, and vulnerability of various cloud platforms which are not certified, it took into picture. Then data breaches. Uh, People wanted to publish their applications, which were in-house ERPs and software, over the internet for making people work from their home. But this particular transition or transformation of software from a on-premise to cloud enabling was done, and it was a remarkable effort. But all 360 degrees of rolling out were not followed. I mean, people did not worry about the security to that extent. Okay, there were basic handlers like HTTPS and all, but even HTTPS hostings can be compromised. Going further, IoTs have started coming up, especially in healthcare segment. There were many IoTs sold to patients for home care, and they were connected with 4G or 5G network wherever it is available. Okay, 5G networks were not available in India at that time, 2 years back, but they were already there in Western countries or even some Eastern countries also. So the communication on 5G channels itself has not been stabilized by a suitable RFP, was not stabilized by a suitable RFP at that time. Now the standards are there, right? So even that communication channel between the IoT and the parent system was there. Then automation and integration. So everybody wanted fewer people to do more tasks. So the tasks which were assigned to the people who were rationalized due to this pandemic, who would do the task? So people started doing in-house and automation and integrating them with some kind of a process. This automation was a hectic exercise, and professional really had a, small turnaround time to really deliver the solution. So that became one of the key areas of concern. When you talk about cybersecurity, you cannot forget all the hackers with black hats. I mean, hackers with white hats are always welcome, but not with the ones with black hats. So there were so many ransomware and other similar stuff coming into the picture, into arena, and their attacks become more and more lethal. I will have a graphic in next few slides of how this thing came into picture and what kind of lethality that they brought to the cyber community. Then there were some attacks which were actually state sponsored. I would not like to quote any examples over here because I don't want to get into controversies over there. I mean, there were organized data breaches supporting some business initiative or marketing strategies or business building capabilities. So that was there. And the last one was insider threats. Human error is still one of the primary reasons. By mistake, I did this. I was not aware that it will work like this. All these statements, which are common to hear in workplace, became more and more evident and prominent. And because of this, insider threats became more and more uh, difficult to be managed, mainly because of two reasons. Number one, the governance team was not available in the office, or they were remotely managing, and there was no vigilance. So all these are, according to me, top 10 areas of concern which one needs to really consider as a cyber security point. And we should start writing some documents or white papers how to counter all these things. There could be a lot of points where we need to bring really scale up the ethics and ownership of people inside, because insider threats are the biggest threats that a IT or CISO would have. Now, let's go into some gamification of cybersecurity soldiers versus cyber bullies. This is a graphic where two people are having their boxing ring, are in the boxing ring, and they're having their last and final round. So what is happening is IT security soldiers and cyber security, they are fighting like anything, and definitely we want the blue guy to win because he is the IT security soldier. So what we are doing is, if we consider ourselves as IT security soldiers on this platform, I would like to categorize all the threats which cyber bullies have done into ransomware, banking trojans, rats, miners, downloaders, and info key stealers, and others. The journey of all these things in 2018 was huge one. Everybody wanted to do something on this sort, a negative mentality, and we had an outbreak and outburst of all these things. And during that time, ransomware and people asking money to release your data and things like that, or trojans or some scripts coming into your network and flushing out data, it really started happening. So you see, I tried to color code all these um attacks into different categories, and there is an even mix of all the colors. Now, as we progress from 2018 to 2019, it became more and more blue. And that color really says that people were more focused to do a ransomware attack and take money out of it. As we moved into 2020 and ahead, the blue factors started coming down. And in pandemic, there were very few ransomware attacks as compared to this. So cyber bullies have also become very aware that people are aware of their attacks and everything. I mean, there are certain tools and certain software available like antivirus, which provide you an ability of countering the moving target defense. Whenever a ransomware comes into your system, it identifies the location where the data is stored, and sends back a key to the owner of that, or the initiator of that ransomware, and he sends second spike which really encrypts that data and locks it. Now, moving target defense is the spike which, when it takes back to the originator, it goes with some vector information about the location of the data on the disk. That information, by the time the new spike comes to lock it, that location vector information is changed. So target has moved. And this is proving to be a very good tool to really counter the ransomware. There are so many players available selling moving target defense software. So one can research and this. And I personally found that MTD was a very good solution for that. So what are IT security soldiers? They are saying, go back to where you have come from. Then how we are doing it? We are keeping the bad guys out by doing all the countermeasures. So we are protecting internal network and gracefully recover from an attack, if any, which is very rare. So we are geared. So picture for IT security soldiers is not all that grim, which is discussed over the media and this. IT security soldiers are equally capable, competent, and empowered to really gracefully recover from such an attack if there is any attack. Sorry. So what could be the possible counter action? Let us talk about some more strategies and strategies. So we have to lay a solid foundation. We have every or enterprise should deploy a NAC solution, which is network access control. So what is network access control? You allow only authorized devices to connect to your network. Merely by giving a username and password to dial into a VPN account and get connected to enterprise is not enough. It is also required that from which device you will be dialing in this VPN connection. So the MAC address should be encrypted. If into that VPN profile, if the MAC address and username and password, that is a 3-point authentication, if it matches, then the connection should be authenticated. Not only that, once the person gets really connected to your network and he's done all these things with all the trusted laptop or a mobile which is certified by the enterprise connects, it is the role of that person. For example, a sales guy who is working on field doing a sales call and marketing, there is no reason that he should connect to the HR database, because he is not supposed to connect. At the most, he can connect to the production database so that when he is selling the goods, he knows when he can commit the delivery. So logically, you need to plan all these journeys that XYZ is from this department. So what are the departments on which his business or work depends? You form that matrix and accordingly encrypt those business tools into his login script. In case, uh, assume that there is a person who is supposed to be working only 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, it's his work off. And there is a incoming connection from his device on Saturday afternoon. That is not a pattern that a user is supposed to have. So that pattern, when it out of pattern incidents, when it comes up, it will automatically trigger an SMS or a mail to his manager or to himself and alert the system that there is some abnormal activity happening on the network. So zero trust policy has to be done. Zero trust itself is a very vast topic, and today, like people talk about Industry 4.0, zero trust has moved till ZT 3.0. At some point, it would be pleasure to discuss about zero trust policy on the this forum. Then fingerprint the incidences. Whenever any incidents happens where security has breached, it's not the only thing that you counter that and recover from that. You must understand why it happened, how did it happen, What was the pattern? Is it likely to happen? Ask yourself all these questions. Once you have asked all these questions to yourself, answers will be automatically there. So you have to do a post-mortem of attack, if any, in a structured manner and record the observation. Create an incidents reporting system with the analytic engine. So in future, whenever a similar attack is going to happen, that analytic engine will put in some more information into AI and prevent that attack automatically. And that is the way how you can deploy, or how you can leverage upon AI capabilities into cybersecurity. Then you must keep all the software system, all your Windows updates, or even if you are using a Linux system, all the patch management, even let's say you are using a laptop or a desktop, there is a chip on your computer which is called BIOS, which is basic input output system. So it's a ROM containing a program which governs the way that your device is going to work. And even there are vulnerabilities in that firmware as well. Whenever we talk about cybersecurity, we do not pay attention to the firmware which are deployed into various ASIC chips and the BIOSes. So we need to also get in touch with your, uh, let's say, device vendor and take the updated versions and updated patch managed firmware of all these chips also. Because whenever you say and whenever you're feeling that you're going to control the cyber threat, you're always looking at your databases or at the most application, but you're not paying attention to network devices. Even your firewalls, their firmware should be properly updated with all the security patches. So they have to be in line with the cyber attacks. Also, talking about firewall, you must subscribe to reputed reputation engines. These reputation engines, they are continually crawling the internet and collecting information of possible trends and threats of cyber attacks. And they are developing countermeasures to protect you. So if you subscribe to this service, which is in my opinion mandatory, you will be benefited with the latest software on your firewall. And that software and these services put together, it will form a really robust edge device on your network. This edge device will in turn will ensure that you have an excellent perimeter security. Next in line is uh, you have to have a well-planned approach to ATP. So threat protection, where there is a software, there are going to be problems. There are going to be loopholes. There cannot be a software system or there cannot be a database, that there cannot be a security policy which is 100% reliable. So there are going to be ATP threats on your firewall and there could be a lot of probes coming into the network. You should not get disheartened that I did so many things. I did this, I deployed AI, I updated patches, I had the MAC, I had the analysis of previous attacks, and I had uh, taken care of every other parameter. But still, why people are entering my firewall? They will and they will always enter your firewall. But then you have to define, once such a threat comes in, how are you going to be alerted? Is it going to be after the data is breached or prior to data breach? So IDS and IPS, intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system, has to be properly deployed and configured. In my opinion, you should not have a single firewall. You should always have a tandem pair of firewall that brings you a HA, and they also work in a load balance. So high availability architecture is always advisable for a sustenance and continual uptime of your enterprise. You can expect at least 4 nines, that is 99.99% of uptime, where you have taken a proper care during design of your IT infrastructure. So having laid the foundation, these are few mantras that I would like to say. You have to conduct a regular periodic VAPT, vulnerability analysis and penetration testing of your exploitable security points. Then you always need to back up sensitive and confidential data and store it separately from time to time. Whenever you are backing up data, you must have it be sets of data. Conventionally, we call it as a grandfather, father, and son. So typically, grandfather comes on Monday, father comes on Tuesday, the son comes on Wednesday. So you have got a data copy of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So in worst case scenario, you have the 24 hours previous data, which is concurrent with your business requirement. So time to get back to business is very small. And in case of any disasters happening, you can always restore it. Then always have your computer, software, and applications and everything updated to the latest security patches. You have to have that culture within the organization and encourage people not to share the passwords and work openly and monitor them to really force to change the password at a periodic interval. The passwords should be minimum 8 to 10 characters with alphanumeric and special characters inside. And you must enforce password change policy. Maybe 15 days will be a too frequent one, but at least once in 6 weeks or 4 weeks, you have to compel the user to change all the passwords. I would recommend that single sign-on would be the best, so that one single password change will reflect on all the other systems. You have to block all the email spoofing, spams, DEC attack by securing your email domain and with authentication protocol like DM, ARC, SPF, and DKI. All these protocols, you can take it as a service from various service providers. Maybe Microsoft hosting can give you, or any other email service provider. There's so many of them who offer you all these protection. So your email should not be a simple POP3 account which enables you to send a mail to anyone. So it has to be properly backed, because when you send a mail to any person and he replies, the traffic has to be encrypted. All the email journey from point A to point B and point B to point A, this entire transaction has to be encrypted, and it has to be encrypted into protocols like DMARC or SPF or DKI. So it's sort of an encapsulation network, which is a container, which is secured container. So if your data and communication is through a containerized secured platform, then you have got a peace of mind. Also, you have to form a stakeholder team within your organization who are intellectual enough, who are capable enough to have a really cyber attack simulation campaign. So you create a team which will help you to understand your problems by attacking your domain. So it will be a controlled aggression. Controlled aggression will train the team in such a way that in case uncontrolled aggression happens, they know what to do and what to expect. With this, you will have a 360-degree kind of an approach towards your cybersecurity. Also, you have to ensure that all the application and login, they are multi-factor authentication. Just let's say username and password entered on a portal should not be taken as an enterprise security. You have to introduce an OTP sent to an email, or OTP sent on a mobile phone, or even a WhatsApp. So unless, see, security is what you have and what you know. What you have is a company authorized laptop or company authorized phone. What you know is the password. So if there is a combination of what you have and what you know matches, it used to be enough few years back. Then what you are supposed to do is the third factor, which is the OTP authentication. So you have to deploy that as well. Then you have to restrict the admin right. You know what happens is more and more companies and enterprises, they are outsourcing their desktop support to third-party agencies, and the engineers of those third-party agencies, they are not properly trained to really format and reinstall a machine and create users. While creating users, they create an admin user for their convenience. Now their convenience makes a entry point for all these people to really log in, because most of the cases username is admin and password is password. I mean, that is the most common thing which is happening in this hardware support system. So you have to, if you follow all these rules, then you will have a decent, protected and cyber secure kind of an environment. Moving next, only technology can't help people's integrity is also equally important. Now, how does an IT department really build in the people's integrity within the organization? IT department obviously cannot. You need to really get in hands in hand with your HR team, and HR should run employee satisfaction surveys pretty often in a year. Normally, ESAT happens prior to appraisal cycle, where people give positive opinions because their appraisals are at a stake. But if you do this quarterly or maybe once in 6 months or something, you will really know the happiness index of your employee. If the employee is very happy in your organization, then they will not have intent to breach the security or let's say um, leak the data what they have. Then you have to align compensation of your critical employees who really run the data. Offer peanuts and only monkeys will come. That is a saying in English, which is quite true over here as well. So you have to align compensation with the industry standards. So you really know that people are satisfied, happy, and they are comfortable with whatever remunerations you are giving. Then you have to create a growth ladder for them. So there is always something that an employee can look up to. If an employee is stagnated as, let's say, a IT manager, or let's say manager production, and there is no growth ladder, so he will be expert in his work because he's been working there for years together, and he'll have a lot of spare time and empty mind. And empty minds are devil's workshop. So the security can start reaching from that point. Then the organizational DNA. So you have to inculcate a culture where you create a DNA for your organization, which will be of integrity, which will be that, yes, this is my house, I will keep it secure. So only technology can't help people's integrity. With that, I come to the last point on my agenda, which is human angle versus technology angle. So aim for the bullseye. Protecting your enterprise should be prime role as an IT manager. You need to create a process, educate people, two-step verification, ML and AI, have frequent workshops, and no data breaches will happen. With that, I conclude my couple of slides on this vast topic. I am available for any questions, and here are my coordinates. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Mahindra.
Yeah, if anybody is having any questions or views on the session, all are welcome.
This is Rajesh Javeri. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Sir, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the in.
Mr. Rajesh, you are not audible.
Sir, is it audible now?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, sir, thank you very much for providing the information. But, sir, I have a little bit differ in the maybe the opinion about this COVID. What we said about the 10
Mhm.
area of concern. What he said. I think in 2020, when the first phase of the COVID was there, I think there were a lot of challenges were there in terms of configuring the VPN and people were not
Exactly.
aware about and all. But then in
Mhm.
2021, I think that things become totally different, and with the matured organizations and the users requirement, I think those type of things has drastically reduced. But then
Exactly.
what happened, like as you rightly said about cyber bullies and all from 2018. But then
Mhm.
it is now totally gone to the different as a area where
Exactly.
they wanted to attack, they want to wait, they want to observe it, how the data is moving in the enterprise, and then they try to wanted to take ransomware type of
Mhm.
activities.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I wanted to just update you, because
Yeah.
in 2021 and 2020 things has totally went very different way altogether.
Yes. I mean, when the pandemic occurred in the just before the first wave, everybody was taken by surprise, and there were organizations who were not geared really to offer VPN and home work from home. Because most of the organizations believe that why should people work from home? They should come to office and work. And immediately over the night, providing connectivity, there were so many things which were done at a very basic level. So security was at threat at that time. Now, there were cases in healthcare where I wouldn't quote the name of the establishment. It's a premium establishment in our country, but 1.2 million records were stolen in spite of having all these things, right?
Yeah, because
So there were cases,
yes, no,
and it
and
was a
there
focused
were
attack.
cases and there will be cases, because
Yes,
unless until we will make
correct.
video enable. I always tells people that you can take data from your smartphone, and you can
Yes,
capture the data. So there is nothing you can if like you don't have to
exactly.
make a key of print screen. You can take a photo of it, and then you can also
Correct.
go ahead with the data. Yes, I agree with you.
Now, on that note, I'll like to tell you that nowadays you get photocopying machines, which if you put a currency note, it will not photocopy.
Okay.
So there is a AI built into such system. So you get a screen guards. If you can have those screen guards on your laptops and phones, you cannot take a picture of it. They are expensive, but they are available.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
My email ID is there on your screen. So in case you think about any other question later on, you could always send across a mail to me, and I would be happy to reply as soon as possible.
Mr. Unmesh, good evening. I'm Meena Lal
Good
here.
evening.
First of all, I request you to stop sharing your screen so that,
Okay.
it becomes, the visibility on our screen becomes better.
Okay.
Uh, the
Is that
question
okay
that I
now?
have, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. So, this is a very, this topic brought in a lot of insights in me. Since I'm not from IT background,
Okay.
you know, the question that I have, you spoke about zero trust policy, but
Correct.
you also said that it's a huge subject by itself, and you would be
Yes.
glad to talk to us in a detailed manner in a
Yes.
topic, in a session dedicated to that topic. Could you
Correct.
elaborate a little bit on zero trust policy?
See, trust policy, what it says is it actually deals only with the remote access, people connecting to your enterprise from outside. Okay. So predominantly zero trust evolved that. You remember in ancient time there were forts and there was a water around it and a bridge, right?
Yeah.
So that bridge can be imagined as a firewall of today's enterprise.
Right.
You know, you pick up the bridge and you're disconnected from outside, and your inside data remains inside and outside people remain outside. You know, so how do you secure with a business logic so that drop bridge always is in an enabled position and still able to do that? So there is a business logic, and there are ways where you can define insider policies for zero trust and outsider policies for zero trust.
Okay.
See, take our home. If somebody comes to a house and rings a bell at 1 o'clock in the night, would you blindly open the door?
No.
No. So what would be your steps? Without opening the door, you will ask from behind the door, who are you?
Yeah.
So he will say that, madam, I am from post office and there is an urgent telegram for you. If that reply is there in these days, would you believe that? Nobody would send an urgent telegram now. They'll just pick up a phone or a WhatsApp you, right?
Yeah.
So you start profiling the person standing who you are not seeing on the other side. So there are set of rules of your house when the door should be open. You have defined those rules, which you feel that they're fit enough to really protect your home and your property inside and yourself.
Yeah.
That is exactly why did you not open that door to that postman, person, cleaning postman? Because you did not have trust. There was zero trust. So a person entering into your network should pass the zero trust test. There should be a set of algorithms for which, if all the check marks are yes, then only he should be able to allow.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, in 2 minutes, I can explain zero trust as like that. But I said that zero trust, I have held a session on that with zero trust 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. That was about 2 hour session. So that itself is a topic on its own.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have one question. This is Irfan here.
Yeah, Irfan.
Now, after the shift, because of the pandemic, the shift is towards cloud, and organizations are rushing to move their resources or their services to cloud so that they have uptime and availability ensured to their end users.
Yes.
But this cloud shifting is also coming up with a lot of security challenges. Like whatever we have explained in these slides, they were mostly the controls that we can put and have ensured or trust that they are in place from in-house infra perspective. But when we have our data stored on a cloud, which actually has the hardware owned and maintained by somebody third party, again, this zero trust is a big question mark there. And how we can actually have all these measures in place when the cloud is your actually the base source for hosting your data.
So that's a very good question, Irfan. And I think in so many sessions that I've presented on data security and things, I would like to tell you that you're the first one who asked this question, and I congratulate you for that. To answer your question, when you choose your cloud service provider, it's very necessary that you should understand and do an introspection. Why do you want to move to cloud? Ask that question to yourself first. And answer is yes. Then is it necessary to move all the services that you have? See, you may be having your HR software or ERP or finance data or etc. etc. So many subsystems are there in our ERP. So you must choose which system is the most important, which is to be available from everywhere at all the time. Okay. it's not wise to put everything on the cloud right from day one, because your cloud experience and the way your IT team would really manage the cloud. Because cloud service provider, what they will do is they will come to you, understand your application and understand your strategy to moving towards the cloud, which is the right way to do it right now. And what I found in my personal experiences with all these things, AWS has a good consulting team, and they really handhold you to take a right decision on the right platform. Whether you want to go for a bare metal or a database or EC2 or whatever kind of instance that you need, which will really be in line with your business requirement and the security level required. If you take all this thing into consideration, what I would advise is to go to a trusted partner. Trusted partner in the sense, not only the cloud service provider like AWS or Amazon or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, not only that, but the partner who is going to help you in this journey. Your IT team, though it may be totally technically sound and capable, but it will be their first migration to the live cloud. And transition from on-prem to cloud can be very painful, because your applications are not designed for to be cloud enabled. You have to do some code changes in the way the user really is interacting with that thing. Internal, if you have a VMware inside and you have hosted a application on which is a browser based, so it's not as simple that I'll pick up this application and put it on the cloud. I'll just change the IP address and point it towards that cloud location, and the URL will remain the same. No, that's not cloud hosting. Cloud hosting comes with a connect. Since I've got a background of working with AWS, they offer a thing called AWS Connect, which is a dedicated connection between their data centers and your infrastructure, and it's a secure, guaranteed tunnel. So similarly, Microsoft and Google would also be offering this. So it's not only subscription to number of instances, but also checking off your shopping cart of whatever you have purchased from these service provider. Is it enough? It's like, on a lighter note, if I have to give a example, the first of the month is already approaching. So you'll be making your grocery list. You buy everything, but forget cooking oil. How are you going to make food? Right?
Right, sir.
So you have to make your shopping list a very precise one. Consult a person who is absolutely master in this. And that person will be a, let's say, a person who will take you from point A to point B journey in a safe and secure way. And your cloud migration and confidence of cloud being migrated will be very good. I hope I have answered your question, Irfan.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The only point I wanted to brought in is basically as the major difference between in-house infra and the cloud infra is you don't own that, and you are basically trusting somebody, and all the trust is on the basis of some contractual agreements.
Correct.
So if we want to take that approach, that is, I think, the biggest risk involved out there. We have to have full trust. So zero trust and full trust, I mean, that difference I was trying to just bring in there.
Now the zero trust which I was mentioning is totally different than what you mentioning. It's
Yeah, I mean, I understand the terminology, but if you are relying on
yes, the authenticity and legitimacy of the agreement, that is what you're referring to. So while signing on dotted line, it's very easy, takes only few seconds, but then to comply with that for the duration of agreement is really a tough job. So whenever you enter into agreement with any cloud service provider, always take referrals of that particular service provider, and then only get into that. The best way is to consult any cyber law establishment, or let's say on this forum, advocate Dr. Lime is there, who is very proficient in that. So maybe take some advice of somebody like that, or appoint a consultant who will really help be with you during this journey. And in case any breach happens, that person can be put into force again to set things right.
Sure, sure, sir. Thank you so much. Hi.
Thank you.